Okay.
Ma'am, we can
Am
begin.
am I audible to everybody now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So a very good evening to each and every one of you who has logged in today.
Ma'am, please अपना वीडियो ऑन कर लीजिए.
Just a minute, just a minute. Yeah. Is it better now?
वो वीडियो ऑन करिए मैम.
Yeah. Is it better?
Yes,
Am I
sir.
visible?
Yes.
Okay. So a very good evening to each and everyone. Welcome to the second talk for the webinar series 2020. The theme of this webinar is Let's Talk About Food. As we all know, food is a constant, but yet it is an ever-changing entity. We have been talking about the journey of food, and last time I also mentioned this journey Adi to Anand. The current situation which we are facing right now is very, very unprecedented. Therefore, we started thinking about to take everyone to various dimensions of food. You know, food can be talked at various level, at the level of health, nutrition, safety, regulation. So it's a multi-dimensional subject. So we organized this webinar series with the help of AFSTI, Delhi chapter, and I am thankful to Dr. Madhavan, who is there with us today for supporting this initiative. In current times, each one of us is hearing daily about coronavirus and COVID. A situation like this is unprecedented for the humankind. And whenever we have a problem, we need to find solutions. And at times, the solutions have to be multi-pronged. Multi-pronged approach needs to be taken. And same is the case with this pandemic, which we are handling right now. When we talk solutions, it can be as simple as hand washing with a soap for 20 seconds or more. We all have been advised by WHO to shift to hand sanitizers, but now the focus is 70% of alcohol. Now, since this coronavirus is coming through the air, through the aerosols, so masks in public spaces has become compulsory. Physical distancing is must. We have to maintain a physical distance so that we are not infected by this virus which is there in the air around us. In the similar manner, the most important approach to handle this pandemic till a vaccine is created or is generated is to build up our immunity. And we all know that we usually are what we eat. So, all of us, each one of us, this is the easiest thing to do that we build in our immunity. And if you have seen the news recently, many people, even 95 or 93-year-old people, are coming out of this, COVID-19 successfully and strongly. So the topic of today is food immunity, and I will request Dr. Madhavan to give the opening remarks. Thank you, Dr. Madhavan.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shalini. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Dr. Balram Pani, Principal, Bhaskaracharya College of Applied Sciences. Dr. Shalini Sehgal, Dr. Ruchi, and other respected faculty members of the esteemed college. Dr. Shalini Arya of ICT Mumbai, who will deliver the talk today, invited guests and dear students. COVID-19, or coronavirus that we call today, was declared as a global pandemic by World Health Organization. While the whole world is grappling with imminent dangers that this virus poses to humanity, there are few key measures that individuals can take to fight this pandemic. Primarily, the cause is a virus, and that there exists no drug to fight it out. Till we come out with an effective vaccine, as Dr. Sharani was telling, we are going to live with it. But the silver line is that we can encounter this deadly, unseen, microscopical demon with our inner power and defeat it. It's only when our resistance, better known as immunity, is compromised, the virus dominates. So it is important that we equip ourselves to fight this demand out by strengthening ourselves. This is being done by increasing our immunity. I don't intend to surpass into the area where Dr. Shalini of ICT Mumbai is going to share her knowledge with you today. As the saying goes, to prevent is better than to cure. Let us put up a fight with Corona. For that, let us talk about immunity. Let us talk about food. Bhaskaracharya College of Applied Sciences is a pioneering place of higher learning under the University of Delhi and is quite well known for its Department of Food Technology. I appreciate the gesture by this college in driving home the concept of healthy food and healthy living. As President of Delhi Chapter of Association of Food Scientists and Technologists India, I offer our unconditional support to the venture and wish the organizers all the very best in their endeavor. I wish you all as a sumptuous food for thought as we will talk about food today. Wish your days to be safe and happy. Thank you all once again.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you so much for your support and kind words, sir. Once again, welcome to the virtual world with us. Now, I'll request Ruchi to put up the slide for the profile of Dr. Shalini Arya. I would like to welcome Dr. Shalini Arya, and I would also like to highlight her journey till now. She is currently an assistant professor in Department of Food Engineering and Technology, ICT Mumbai. She has been associated with ICT from 20,000 and has been working in the area of food technology, especially the new product development. She is a recipient of many laurels and awards. She is a role model for the younger people who are there. And she has been bestowed upon a number of awards like Malsipina Scholar Award given by ILSI in 2015. This was for development of traditional foods having low GI using locally available ingredients. So Shalini is ahead in her thinking. So think local. She started doing it right into 2015. She is a recipient of multiple awards, Young Scientist Awards, which have been given across the globe, be it be China, be it be Brazil, the Best Innovator Award. She is also leading the Women in Science under the Global Young Science Academy. Apart from number of publications and working in this field, research field, she is also very the science communicator, and she talks about the role of women in science, which actually needs a mention. Apart from this, she is a member of various reputed organizations, committees. She is on the member of Global Young India Academy. She is also a member of INSA, which is very active nowadays and promoting science at multiple forums across the globe as well as pan-India. So I welcome Shalini Arya, and we eagerly look forward to her talk, which is about building immunity using food-19. Welcome, Shalini. The dais is yours now.
Thank you so much, everyone, and my special thanks to the Department of Food Technology, Bhaskaracharya College of Applied Sciences, University of Delhi, and patrons, that is Dr. Balram Pani, who is a principal of BCAS, Dr. A. Madhavan, president of AFSTI. AFSTI is near to my heart, and my journey with AFSTI has started when I was a student. So I was one of the active members during my student even during my students' time. AFSTI has really helped me. AFSTI has shaped me. AFSTI has encouraged me, and for Mumbai chapter of AFSTI, I was a treasurer, I was a joint secretary, and right now also I'm an executive committee member. So I have FSTI is in my heart. So I have a lot of respect and love for this beautiful organization. And thank you, Dr. Shalini Sehgal, for giving me an opportunity to talk to the students, especially food technology. And my journey into food technology is very interesting. And very recently, 2 weeks back, I gave a international or national webinar in science leadership, and there I really shared my journey and how I entered into food technology. Maybe some of the audiences who are here, some might have attended that session also, and it was really, really very good, having more than 25,000 views and attendees. So it was one of the very good lecture, like, because food technology itself is very, very interesting, and but one has to be interested into it. And I'm also thankful to Dr. Sakshi Khurana, who is coordinating, and its entire team with Dr. Shalini, Dr. Sakshi, and the entire team I have been observing for a few days. You have such a wonderful team, and the meticulousness in the task that you're looking at every symbol and small thing, that is what I like, and I would like to compliment, especially I'm a little bit women biased. At international level, I do a lot for women in science. I work with OWSD, I work with many international organizations, especially encouraging women scientists, early career women scientists, PhD, postdoc students, and I have a very huge network. And so with that background, I am really, really impressed with the kind of work that you all are doing. So congratulations, and thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. And without taking much time, I would like to share my today's talk, which is basically on immunity boosting food, especially during COVID-19. See, now when the corona started, like it came into China in December, and then slowly it entered in India. Maybe until March there was nothing. I very recently I was on postdoctoral fellowship in South America, and almost in March I traveled via London, and I traveled a lot, like almost for 3 days I traveled. I traveled from Rio to Sao Paulo to London, from London to Bombay. It was a very, very long journey, and I was just traveling. But then when I was traveling from into different countries, from border to border, I didn't see any seriousness in the people. Neither people asked. Even in March, you see, even there were some incidences. Even in South America or Brazil, very specifically, there were few people, but there was no seriousness in the people, neither at airport nor in the city. So. But then slowly we started going into it, and do you remember, you keep yourself into that system, and when you see yourself in the month of March, even I'm a scientist, but at the same time I'm a mother, I'm a human being, and who gets afraid because of the media or because of many things. And then I was like so depressed after coming, and I had a travel history, obviously. Even without thinking of having COVID, I was thinking that I have a COVID symptoms, and I was unable to breathe, and ultimately I was every day reading to the COVID symptoms, and I was thinking about, oh no, I might be having COVID because I traveled, but ultimately there was no COVID. But the psychology plays a very important role. Your thinking plays an important role, and that's how I started studying, because I'm a scientist. I'm telling you, do not accept anything because Dr. Arya is telling. Do not accept anything because somebody else is telling, or who is accept only when it is scientifically proven. And you all are scientists because you all have that scientific background. We all are technologists. Accept based on the scientific evidences. So today's session that I am going to discuss or share with you is based on the scientific evidences, because as I said, I had a travel history, and almost for 22 days, I went through such a bad situation. I was experiencing actual COVID. Maybe it wasn't COVID because I went through the test also for COVID, but then it came negative and I did not had actual COVID. But then during that stressful days of time, I went through a lot of research paper, I compiled a lot of data, and then that's how I gave this talk. Maybe in my month of March, the very first talk on the same topic was given on one national platform called as the Indian National Young Academy, and there I got a chance to meet with Professor Shalini Sehgal, and that's how we decided to do it once again. So of course I have updated this. So coming back to immunity, friends, tell me that immunity, we have been discussing immunity for past 2-3 months, and of course now we are more knowledgeable because there are lots of media, a lot of research papers or a lot of articles, and of course I will say that there is a digital revolution that has been especially happening in India, because I have seen every day there are 10 number of webinars that I'm either attending or delivering. So there is a huge digital revolution that is happening, and because of that digital revolution, I'm sure you must be very, very well aware about many immunity boosting ingredients. So immunity means it is basically the ability of an individual or organism to resist a particular infection or toxin. So basically you will think that as a human being we come across millions and millions of bacteria, viruses. You are very well aware that in the environment and everywhere that you come across with millions and millions of bacteria. But do you fall sick? You don't fall sick. Why don't you fall sick? It's because our body fights against these viruses, bacteria, and other diseases. You see, even if you walk near the outside environment, and now it is in COVID research, it is now discovered that if you have a very good immunity, even you can fight with the COVID viruses, and there are many other research coming out. I will be sharing with you. But then what I want to say here is, it's all depend on your immunity, that is your ability to fight. So now how does this immunity comes in, and how every individual is different in immunity? All these questions might be lingering in your mind, and I will try to address those step by step. So basically you see that even in our body there are trillions of bacteria, viruses, fungi. They either live into the body or outside the body, and these bacteria we come across, but then due to our immune system we don't fall sick every day. So an army of cells which is ready to ward off any attack is there. So how does this immune system? I'm not going to take much time discussing about the chemistry or other details because I'm a food technologist, so I would rather more focus on food rather than the biochemistry or immunity. But as a scientist we should have a background what it is immunity. So quickly I will tell you a brief background what is innate immunity, and then it is called as a specific immunity and non-specific immunity, and how does that helps, and how through food you can target one specific immunity. So basically innate immunity is also called as a non-specific immunity, and this is body's first natural defense. For example, if an ant bites, or if you are walking on the road with the bare feet, and one nail pricks into your feet, or a broken glass piece pricks into your feet. So what happens, if an ant bites you? Immediate action is, there is some itching, or and after some time you see the swelling of the feet or swelling of the hand. So that swelling is nothing but, body's reaction against, because the ant or any insect, if that bite, it will definitely put some toxin or some compound or chemical compound into our body. And so the moment the chemical compound enters into the body, our body shows the immunity in the form of either inflammation, or it produces blood and then the blood gets clotted. So that is how our body's first natural defense. So you have skin. So there are, basically there are two types of barriers. One is physical barrier and chemical barrier. So basically primary goal is to prevent any outsider or intruder in case it does enter the immune system, and then it is killed by the cells present in our body. So there are number of cells. So we only know white blood cells, but there are multiple number of different types of cells which functions differently. So the first system that helps in fighting with the viruses, bacteria is skin, and I gave you an example. Then the second one is the sticky mucus that is present in the nose, and you experience this in day-to-day basis. For example, some dust goes into the nose, or some by mistake insect goes into the nose. You start sneezing, sniffing, and then suddenly the mucus starts coming out of your nose, and you say that some people say, oh, I have some allergy problem, because some people cannot handle it really very well. But then the sticky mucus is automatically produces, and it doesn't allow the dust particle or any foreign intruder to enter into our body. Then you have chemical barriers, like in the eyes there is a liquid called as a lysozyme, and then in the stomach the acidity of that acid is so high that if even if by chance the bacteria enters into the body, they will die because of the high acidity, and so is applicable for eyes. You see, you experience something goes into the eyes, immediately the water starts flowing from the eyes, and along with that water the insect or any foreign particle comes out. So, and then the inflammation, I have already given example, like the skin gets inflated. So that is because of one specific cell, and they are called as a mast cells. These are again comes under the immunity cells. So these cells constantly search for suspicious objects in our body. Why this system is called as a non-specific? These mast cells cannot differentiate between the good cells or bad cells. For example, even if you consume good bacteria, you all know about probiotic, like sometimes lactobacilli. So, and along with that, some bad bacteria have also entered. So they cannot make differentiation between these cells, and they kill everything. So basically these mast cells constantly search for suspicious objects in our body. They alert, and blood is rushed to the problem area, and that is how immediately if the ant has bite on the face or on the cheeks, immediately your cheek will be swollen. So this is because all the white blood cells gather there, and they are called as the soldiers. So then there are multiple number of cells present in our body, and they are called as a phagocytes, neutrophils, also called as a pus cells, and then macrophages, which engulf 100 pathogens. Then there are NKCs, which are also called as a natural killer cells, and dendritic cells. So about these cells, there are very beautiful animated videos available on YouTube channel, and after end of this lecture I can post those links, and you can really go through all these. But what I would like to say here, there are multiple number of cells which functions differently and helps our body to fight against. Like for example, if you look at these macrophages, or they engulf the pathogen instead of they are of certain places in our body, and they can consume around 100 pathogens. So you can go through that. Then there is another system called as adaptive system or acquired immune system. So this system is very specific. The previous one was non-specific. So in this system, more efficient, as it can differentiate between different types of pathogens, like whether the pathogen that is entered is a Salmonella typhi or E. coli or Clostridium botulinum. I'm sure you must have studied during your bachelor courses, intoxication, infection, intoxications. There are different types of intoxications that happens, infections that are happen, and different bacteria are responsible for causing, and some of them are deadliest, like they can even cause brain paralysis, or a person can die due to the food intoxication or food infection. So there are basically two main components of this system: L lymphocytes, which is also called as a in these T lymphocytes there are T cells which come into play when infection is already occurred. For example, it is also called as a cell mediated immune system. So in case of B lymphocytes, that fights with the pathogen that have entered but not caused any infection or disease, and that is called as a humoral immune system. And the B cells produces chemicals called as antibodies that fits on the antigens of pathogen. It is like a lock and key model, and they mark the pathogen. For example, the pathogen has entered into body. So the function of these special B cells, what do they do? They have some compound that is that goes and sits on the head of the virus or pathogen. So there are other cells, for example, T lymphocytes or B lymphocytes, or the cells from the non-specific immune system. So they immediately identify, oh, this is the different cell which is carrying that antibody, or that is tag. So in the form of lock and key, and then they immediately kill it. So they signal macrophages to kill this marked pathogen. So it is not only one cell system that works. There are multiple number of different cells with the multiple functions. Like T lymphocytes have different functions, B cells have different functions, or macrophages have different functions, NKCs have different functions, but ultimately in the body they work in collaboration, in coordination with each other. They work, and that's how they function. So in conclusion, we have a variety of cells that functions and help in our body to build the immune system. So now, what is the role of food or nutrients that helps in boosting the immunity? So as you already are graduate students, some of you are postgraduates, and some of you are scientists, and you all know that there are nutrients, and we have been studying this even from the small age. Even my small daughter studying his second standard knows about some of the nutrients. So there are macronutrients which are required in the large quantity. For example, carbohydrate, which require for filling the body in the form of grain products like chapati, rice, and many other staples. We consume it in the large quantity. Then there are protein, which are also macro, that is required in the large quantity, and they help in tissue structure, like they are the part of organ tissues, muscles, hair, skin, nails, bones, tendons, ligaments, and they're also involved in not only tissue structure, but they have multiple functions like metabolic functions. They help in transportation, hormone system. You must be saying, why I'm telling you? Because it's not only micronutrients. Sometimes the micronutrients functions in presence of macronutrients. I will explain later that how the presence of macronutrient is important. Sometimes today generation think that I must starve and then I should go on diet, and sometimes they try to avoid one specific macronutrients to modify the weight, or to modify the their diet. But then how adversely it might affect on the body, I will explain. So it's not only micronutrients that you should consume, but there are some specific macronutrients which helps in modification of the hormone system or metabolic reactions that takes place, especially legumes like lentils, peanuts, dairy products, which has abundance of proteins. And there are lipids and fats, in addition to providing insulation to the body and energy reserve. They also help in some of the important metabolic reactions. So today I am going to focus on micronutrients, and how they function, along with the macronutrients, how they help in building the immunity. So macronutrients requires in a very small quantity, that is vitamins and minerals. So there are multiple number of immune boosting foods that I have come across during these last 3 months, and published with scientific reports, but I will be focusing on to only those who have a very, very strong scientific They have been, reported very well and recommended by many of the international organizations. So vitamins, I will not cover all the 13 or 14 vitamins, but only specific those which are required and help in boosting the immunity, and can be taken through foods. Then certain minerals, and then spices. India is a hub of spices, and I have traveled in different countries where the spices are not there, and that's the speciality of India. We have really good traditional ingredients that we think that ghar ki murgi dal barabar, but then they're really only in the foreign countries people owe our traditions, our ingredients, and then I will also try to give a quick overview on omega-3, omega-9 fatty acid, but not really. More focus will be on direct immune boosting food, and I will also try to cover probiotic, prebiotic, and overall advice on healthy diets. Although I am not a nutritionist, I am a food scientist, technologist, and engineer, and a scientist. But of course, there are nowadays a lot of nutritionists and health practitioners, particularly doctors, who have been giving advice to all the population in the country. So, well, friends, when you look at this beautiful picture, how do you feel? The picture itself is so eye smoothing. You feel so good, and if I would have put this as a dark slide, you would have felt, oh, what is this? The dark things are only one color, you may not like it, because this is very appealing to our eye and it's very mouth watering. It's because there are multiple number and different colors that you see. It looks so fresh. Itself, looking at this picture itself is a stress relaxing. You feel so good. It's because fruits and vegetable. And imagine if you consume them, what will happen? You will really feel very good. And I'm sure after attending this lecture, you will consume more and more fruits and vegetable. And being a food technologist, being a food scientist, I'm sure you must be already following a good healthy diet. Okay, I'm very much sure. But after attending this lecture, you will be even more confident. So vitamins, you are very well aware that there are two types of vitamins: water soluble, fat soluble, and there are total 13 vitamins, out of which 4 are fat soluble. And you are by heart with these A, D, E, K, and then 8 B vitamins and vitamin C. So basically, if you consume more water soluble, and since fruits and some specific fruits and vegetable, they are abundant in water soluble vitamins, even if you consume in excess, it doesn't matter, because they will be easily excreted from the body, and they are not readily stored. But at the same time, you have to consume them consistently. And fat soluble vitamins, they are absorbed through the intestinal tract, and my point here is consume lipids or fats. If you do not have fat in the body, even if you consume more vitamins which are fat soluble, no use. So these are basically going to accumulate in the body, and they are more likely to lead to the hypervitaminosis. So keep a watch, and so that the role of vitamin is multiple. It's not only one function, it is multifunctional. They give multiple functions, and they help in large number of physiological processes. They have diverse functions, like some of the vitamins are also antioxidants, some of them are hormones, some of them helps in regulating the tissue growth and differentiation. It's not only protein or some macro ingredient, but some of the vitamins also helps in regulating the tissue growth. For example, I will be talking in much detail. Vitamin D, even if you have a scaly skin, it's not because of, even if you buy very expensive creams and ointments, it's not going to help you until you solve the problem from within by consuming, vitamins. So in embryonic development, there are some specific vitamins which are required during when the baby is in fetus. In the immune system, there are many some specific vitamins, although there are other vitamins also. So there are some specific vitamins that I will discuss today, which extends the both innate and adaptive immune responses. What do you mean by extend the innate and adaptive system? That means they multiply the number of cells. Okay, so there are vitamin C, E, and some of the members of B complex. So basically, overall function of vitamins you will find even in the Google. If you search, you will find multiple number of functions. And since you are a food technologist, I will not elaborate much. But then before I discuss what vitamin you should consume or what ingredient you should consume, what I would like to insist upon here is bioavailability of vitamin. It's very, very important. That's what we have been, being a scientist also, or a common people, scientists make mistakes. So you imagine as a common man, you just try to ignore that, there is a aspect called as a bioavailability of vitamin. So what is bioavailability? So it is nothing but the degree to which an ingested nutrient undergoes intestinal absorption and metabolic function, and then how it is utilized within the body. For example, there are multiple number of factors that affects on bioavailability and its absorption and its utilization as consumed. For example, if I ask you to consume 2 kg of carrot or 2 kg of tomato, impossible. You will laugh at me and you say, is this scientist mad or what? She's asking us 2 kg. So, but then if I ask you, after 2 kg of tomatoes or 2 kg of carrot, I express the juice out of that 2 kg of carrots and give it to you, and consuming juice and consuming those 2 kg of carrots, like chewing it for longer. So the bioavailability of both the ingredient, that is carotenoid or say vitamin A, absorption vitamin A from both the food, see, the source is same, but the type, that one is juice and one is in the solid form. So the form that you are consuming is totally different. So obviously the liquid is going to get absorbed easily, and then since there are no cellulosic material, it will be very easy to digest quickly. So there are multiple number of factors that helps in affecting on the bioavailability. There are number of multiple nutrients. Because of the presence of one, the bioavailability of other nutrient is affected. I give you a very well-known example like minerals. There are certain minerals, for example iron. The bioavailability of that iron will be like enhanced in place of in presence of vitamin C, or in presence of citric acid or malic acid, or any acidic environment can enhance the bioavailability of some mineral like calcium or iron, or vitamin D is required for the absorption of calcium. So it's not only one micronutrient, only if you consume that you have achieved. So there are multiple other nutrients which works in collaboration with each other, and consumption of one influences on another. So sometimes the concentration of vitamin at the time of consumption is very, very important. You consume these days a lot, and during this COVID period, I have seen especially the purchase of branded product is tremendously increased. I'm not against of any particular brand, but here I would like to give you an example, and because you all are scientists and technologists, you should also try to criticize and look and analyze. When you buy a packet of juice or juice day, you get it in a Tetra Pak. So they say that it is made from 4 oranges or 5 oranges. There is a huge difference, and I have done a study in my own laboratory wherein, and I also teach to BTech graduate in the form of showing actual experiments on loss of vitamin C or loss of vitamin. Within a few seconds of heating to this juice, almost 90-95% of the vitamin C is lost. Within few minutes or few seconds of the heat, some of the vitamins are so heat labile, they get oxidized. So, and then how these juice that are prepared are preserved by heat treatment. They heat it at 80 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Celsius, such a high heat, and all the vitamin is lost, and then they externally add the vitamin. And then you think that, oh, I drank today 1 glass full of orange juice and I must have received vitamin C. But please carefully watch what is the real concentration. Then identify various chemical species. As I said, there are various forms of vitamins present. One specific form of chemical form is more active than the other chemical form. I will be giving some example when I am specifically discussing. But then even if you are consuming any source of vitamin, be mindful considering these factors like its concentration, what form you are consuming, and whether the bioavailability of these forms are good enough. So the first important vitamin that I'm going to discuss here is vitamin C. It's very, very important vitamin, and which is the most ignored one, most cheapest one, but the most ignored one. I do not know how many of you are taking everyday vitamin C, either in the form of a glass full of juice. And the most cheapest way to consume vitamin C is our lemons. So just squeeze, and lemons are so cheap and very, very cost effective. Just squeeze one glass full of lemon and drink that lemon juice. So why I'm insisting more on vitamin C? You all are scientists, and you know that it is also called as ascorbic acid, and it is an antioxidant. It is an antioxidant. It is required in tissue generation. It is required in detoxification. It prolongs the more interaction between enzymes and hormones. So basically it has extended functions, like it also helps in collagen synthesis. It aids in iron absorption. I already told you, in India, unfortunately, there are, especially women and girls, there is a huge anemia, which is because of the iron deficiency anemia. So, but we consume iron, but we do not in the form of supplements. But what is its bioavailability? But at the same time, you consume vitamin C so that it aids in iron absorption. It helps in better absorption of carotenoids and other vitamin C. Vitamin A is a fat soluble, but at the same time, you need a water soluble vitamin. So synthesis of carnitine. Carnitine is another important ingredient which is needed for fatty acid synthesis. Again, you will say, why fatty acid synthesis is needed? You are a student. You must have studied nutrition, and in the nutrition you must have studied absorption of some of the fat soluble vitamins, and how fatty acid are formed, and how fatty acid synthesis occurs, and where this carnitine is needed. You will be able to connect it. So importantly, why I would see, there are multiple functions, but here I would like to focus and insist on it aids in functioning of the immune system through its antioxidant activity. And so when I saw it aids in the immune system function, I decided to go into deep, and then I browsed many research paper, and I will come quickly on those scientific evidences. So basically, this is already, the information is there. But as I said before, we know everything, but how many of us implement actually? So basically, we know that there is 90 milligram per day RDA required in men, whereas 75 milligram per day required for women. And then, so this if you see this graph, it gives you the daily value and the special products. For example, if you consume half cup of guava, your 125% of the requirement for vitamin C is achieved quickly. Kiwis are very, very good source. Although one kiwi, if you consume, it's hardly for 20 rupees, or sometimes depending upon the seasons, but sometimes it is 20 to 30 rupees for one piece of kiwi, which is around 50 gram of kiwi or 60 gram of kiwi. So this kiwi consumption will also help you to meet almost 125% of the RDA. Red peppers, or we call it as a Shimla mirch or capsicum, they come in different colors, like red colors, yellow colors. They look so beautiful. So either you can consume them in the form of salads or in the form of cooked. So basically, in India, especially whenever we have some sources of vitamin C in the form of vegetables or fruits, we do not treat them. But then vegetables, we treat them very badly. Like in India, the method of cooking that we follow is really not good. Even these red peppers we are consuming, but then we give, we fry them, or we give a tadka. We have not we don't consume them in a raw form. So when I was like almost for 1 year, I was in South America, and I have stayed in Germany for a long period, and I have also stayed in America for a long period of time, and I have seen that the culture is totally different. They almost consume everything in the form of raw form, whereas in our country we really consume a very little raw form of food. Of course, there are some percentage of people who really follow a very good diet, and they consume vegetables or fruits in the raw form. But then overall, when I look back at the medium population, median number, I feel that I should share, and I should insist that minimum processing should be adopted for the food that we consume. So best sources are amla. Amla is so cheaply available. Then there are citrus fruit, as I mentioned, oranges, lemons, guava, very, very, cost effective you can consume. And if you have some, like there are people who smoke, they're at high risk. So if you consume, because that smoking creates a lot of free radicals in our body, and these free radicals needs to be scavenged or taken out. So how we will take out? So vitamin C acts as a chelator, or it also acts as a absorber, or it takes out those free radicals, and then that's how the toxicants from the body could be removed easily. So this is a beautiful picture in which I have tried to insist on some of the fruits and vegetables that are rich in vitamin C. So look at the citrus fruits, that purpleness, or you also called as a grapefruit, such a beautiful fruit. Then oranges, lemons are rich source of vitamin C. In the previous graph I have already shown, and if you Google it, you will immediately come to know what is the percentage, and there are multiple number of research papers available. So and then strawberry, of course strawberries are seasonal, kiwis are available always. I have done quite a lot of research, and I have also published. These are especially available in Maharashtra, and they are called as ambadi and ambat chuka. In Hindi or in English, what do they call? I really don't know. But then these are not consumed by people. These are given to the cattle, and because I come from a rural background, I have seen my mother cooking it, and since childhood we have been consuming these kind of vegetables. And then when I came to I have been now staying in Bombay, a metro city, for more than 2 decades, and I see that these kind of vegetables are not available. And then one of my PhD student, during his master's study, he worked on these vegetables, and very interestingly, these vegetables were rich in vitamin C, high in vitamin C. But then, it is as a scientist, and there are other scientists in this group who are food technologists, I insist that we should, focus on our own ingredients which are rich in vitamin C. And it's very easy. We can consume it, requiring a small quantity, but they are very, very impactful. So when I see, this is the table which shows like amla has 178 milligram, like very, very high source of vitamin C for 100 ml of juice. Mosambi, that is sweet orange, is 52 milligram, not much, but the lemons are like quite similar to that, 38 to 40, depending upon the variety. There are variety of lemons, like Kagzi limes are also there, large sized ones, small sized ones. So depending on that, you can choose the source. So here I come with a very, very strong evidence on vitamin C and infection. So if you see, you are a scientist, and you also study food technology. Some of you are masters, PhD student, some of you are researcher. So you know that publishing in a very highly reputed journal is so very difficult. So when I look here, this is the research paper published in a very good journal called as a Nutrients, published in 2017. And this paper shows that vitamin C and infection. So it is in this paper, the authors, they have tried to emphasize on how this vitamin C is important in maximizing the body's antioxidative capacity, And at the same time, how vitamin C helps in building the natural immunity. Please, natural immunity is very, very important, which is going to sustain or remain there for long to prevent and also minimize the symptoms when a virus attacks the immunity. So here in this study, they are not especially mentioning that which viruses, but they say that vitamin C may alleviate or prevent infections caused by bacteria, viruses, protozoa. So it's not only one that they are saying that there's multiple number of bacteria, viruses, and protozoa. So the basis for using high doses of vitamin C to prevent and combat virus caused illness may be traced back to. Then I was going through this paper, and then I searched another many papers, and I have cited these papers. If you look, I even found the papers published in 1949, and during that time, this Kleiner FR, they have studied this role of vitamin C in the treatment of poliomyelitis and other virus diseases. And this is a very good research paper. Even if it is a very old paper, it is cited by many authors. It is a highly cited research paper. So in this paper, they have studied, and they have proved that it prevent and combat the virus caused illness in 1940s, and many people are unaware, and they get surprised to learn this, that the vitamin C is a very good ingredient which can fight, which will build your immunity significantly. There are clinical evidences built up over the decades leading to an antivirus protocol published. So then I again tried to dig up more and more, and you see this is the most recent paper, and it is published in for immediate release. This was like published very recently, 26 February 2020, after the outbreak of this COVID-19. Because people are looking for the solutions, and this paper straight away says that vitamin C protects against coronavirus. Straight away, so this in this paper, they have studied that immune cells accumulate high intracellular concentration of vitamin C, and that is how it's and then this is a very good paper. If you are interested, I can send you the link. I have full papers also. So they are suggesting that this cofactor is crucial for the function of these immunity cells. Very important. And a possible effect of vitamin C on innate and adaptive immune response in infectious diseases has been reported. Then there was another paper. This paper was from January 2020, published in Orthomolecular Medicine. And then there was another paper, Science Translational Medicine, another very high impact factor journal, very difficult to publish there, and that was published in February 2020. So overall, when I look here, overall, everybody says that vitamin C protects against viral infections, and we should adopt that. And I'm sure until now there must be this I gave this presentation in month of March, and that's how that time there were not much information, but I'm sure nowadays until now this information must be out. So the next vitamin that I would like to target with the scientific evidences is vitamin A. It is notably distinct from other vitamins in that their respective bioactive metabolites, retinoic acids, and as I said in my first this previous slide when I was explaining vitamin, I was telling that the form of vitamin is important, like which form. So now vitamin C, there is ascorbic acid form, and then there is citric acid form, and there is one more form. So which form you should consume, ascorbic acid or ascorbate. There are synthetic forms, there are natural forms, and you will have that question in mind. And of course, I will try to address that after covering all the vitamins. Almost all means a few of the vitamins. So these vitamin A especially is present in the form of retinoids, which are preformed vitamin A in the food. And carotenoids, you must be aware about these carotenoids, and present in the carrot. Then there are lycopenes present in the tomato, and these different sources exist in the these vitamin A exist in three forms. Like one is the retinol, OL group means there is an alcohol. Retinal, that is AL means aldehyde group. attached, and OIC, that is carboxylic COH group attached to it, and based on these three different forms, the activity of vitamin A would be different. Again, I found that the immunomodulatory role of vitamin A has a direct impact on activation of T and B cells. As I gave you a quick background of how T and B cells work together in specific immunity and non-specific immunity, you want them in a large number because you're exposing every day. See, COVID-19 has caused lockdown, but can you prevent exposure? You cannot, because of somebody else is working outside. I'm getting everyday milk, I'm getting vegetable at my doorstep, I'm getting all the grocery at my doorstep, I'm ordering everything online, I'm not going, but somebody else is working outside for me, exposing him or herself to the viruses, and that's how I am peacefully getting everything. So it's very, very difficult to avoid the exposure to the viruses, but we can obviously increase the number of immunity cells so that we build our immunity. And this research paper was very, very interesting, and this research paper directly says that the consumption of vitamin A increases, or it activates the T and B cells, that is directly it activates the immunity, or it builds the immunity. So a vitamin is a substance that makes you ill if you don't eat it. That is a quote. I found it by Albert Zent, published in journal in 1937. So it's not a very new knowledge, but because of this new normal, we have to dig out all the old knowledge, and you have to implement in our daily life. So vitamin A deficiency is associated with decreased resistance to infection. I came across multiple research paper in which they have said that it gets involved in cell mediated, as I mentioned, macrophages, which will eat the viruses and bacteria directly. So this vitamin A involves in cell-mediated and antibody-mediated responses, that is natural killer cells. In the NKCs works, they find the viruses and they directly kill those bacteria and viruses. And directly vitamin A helps in multiplying the B lymphocytes and natural killer cells, macrophages. Overall, your immunity will build. So where is this vitamin A is found? It is found in animal source as well as in the plant sources. In India particularly, we have vegetarian people and non-vegetarian people. So basically, they are found in dark green and yellow colored vegetables. Some fruits are also rich in. Those who are non-vegetarian can consume liver or fish. There are some specific fish which are rich, and then eggs, particularly the yolk of the egg, which is rich in vitamin A. So this picture, it mimics like papaya, is a very good source of carotenoids, and it is very, very cheap and cost effective. Just now the mango season is just getting over, so still there are mangoes available. Please hurry up, go buy some beautiful mangoes. We are so lucky to have some of the best varieties and qualities of mango, like Alfonso, the king of fruits. Carrots, sweet potato, we don't like this sweet potato, but they are abundant in carotenoids. Spinach, it's the most hated by young ones. Children do not like spinach. Or pumpkin is also most hated. People don't eat it. So these are all ingredients. Like tomato is rich in lycopene. Just adopt and this new normal and try to consume as much as you can in the form of snacks. Or you are a food scientist, you are a technologist. Think about some novel, innovative ways where you can insist your family to consume this in a novel form. You can use your product development or new product development skill and play with these and help your mother or help your family to consume this in large quantity. You see, as I said, sweet potato, it's very cheaply available in the market, but it's the most ignored ingredient. And people don't buy it. It is very, at least in Mumbai, it is very, very cheaply available, and people don't consume. You see, if you consume half cup of sweet potato, almost 205% of your RDA for vitamin A will be met through. Then there are broccolis. Then if you are a non-vegetarian, you can consume liver sources. So then the next vitamin I'm going to focus on more is vitamin D. Some vitamin D is synthesized by our cells, and you know that going to the sun is very important, exposing ourselves to the sun. But when you are in some big cities or metro cities, it's very impossible to expose our body to the sun, because in at least in the metro city like Bombay, we have multi-story buildings, one above the other, 50-story, 20-story, and we don't even see sun, or even we are not able to see the sky. So where will the sunlight come? And there are a lot of important scientific things we have to consider when we just directly say that the sunlight exposure. There are multiple number of evidences says that dark skin people and lighter skin people, so lighter the coloration of the skin, the more vitamin D is produced. And if you have a darker skin, it is a disadvantage, you won't be able to produce the skin. And then there was also one article which was published in Times News few years back. It was a front news, and they highlighted that the India is in the world vitamin D deficient population country. People are mostly vitamin D deficient, and they had studied and considered various factors. So exposure to sunlight as well as diet. So it was a very important factor. In the diet, we do not consume this vitamin D in a sufficient quantity. So you all know that sunlight converts, but then what time of sunlight exposure you should expose your body? Is it early morning? Some people says early morning, and very recently I came across a research paper. They said that the angle of sunlight exposure is very important, and it should be 90 degrees, some says 180 degrees, some says only early morning rays, but there are multiple negative and as well as positive results found. But here what I would like to insist, please, one thing is in our hand, and that is consuming this vitamin through diet. So basically vitamin D is very important. Amongst all the vitamins that today I'm going to discuss, I found that vitamin D is most important, and then vitamin C. So aging decreases vitamin D production in the skin, and that is why why do you think that the age-old people are more exposed to COVID-19, and they have been recommended to stay inside the home? Because they have a very less vitamin D. And now I will correlate how what is the relationship between vitamin D and the age and COVID-19. So what happens basically, 80% of vitamin D consumed in food is absorbed and transported in kilomicrons. I have no time, but vitamin D absorption, assimilations, you must have studied in nutrition. I teach my students this vitamin D, how it is assimilated. So basically vitamin D consumed in the food is absorbed and then transported in the form of kilomicrons. Once in the bloodstream, it can be stored or converted into active form by the liver. And that is why in the animal food, liver is the large, maximum. The liver is the source of vitamin D. And so the intake of 5 microgram per day for people under 50, 10 microgram per day for people under 51 to 70, and 15 microgram per day for people aging more than 70 is recommended by many international organizations, including World Health Organization. So quickly, I would like to give you the sources of vitamin like sunlight. Consume more cheese, you can have cheese sandwich, or just grate the cheese on parathas. Consume milk, consume eggs along with the yolk, consume the salmon, which is a fish, and then there are specific yogurt that are rich in vitamin D. So if you look here, this is a graph which shows nowadays in the market there are cod liver oil tablets available. Oil is also available. So it's a very rich in vitamin D. So you can straight away consume 2 tablespoons of this cod liver oil, or salmon, fish or herring can meet your daily requirement more than 100%. So there are multiple number of sources that are reached. So 90% is provided by exposure to sun, lighter. This I have already explained. Yeah. So coming back to the evidence, how vitamin D is directly influencing on the COVID-19. This is a really interesting research paper I would like to discuss. See, this paper is published in April 2020, published in Nutrients, another very high impact factor journal. Now, why I'm insisting, do not believe because I'm telling and you are a scientist, believe because it is, and publishing in a very high impact factor is not very easy. You have to really prove that the research is very good. You have to conduct animal studies, and that is how you are able to. So this is a nutritional journal, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and in this research paper, a good level, the author indicates that good level of vitamin D reduces the concentration of pro-inflammatory cytokinins. So what are these pro-inflammatory cytokinins? So these are some kind of proteins. Reduce these pro-inflammatory cytokinins reduces the so basically what happens, deficiency of vitamin D in your body causes reduction of these pro-inflammatory cytokinin. So in case of and there are another important two ingredients which are important, and they are the immune protein called as a cathelicidins and defensinins. These are the two important immune protein, and these immune protein are required. Why they are required? Because they are directly related to reduce the rate of virus replication. You know that once the virus entered in our body, the virus has replicated at a faster rate, and that is why the condition of the disease becomes severe and severe. So if you have these cathelicidins and defensins, which are immune protein, these immune proteins reduces the replication rate if you consume them in the and if you do not have vitamin D, you will not have these immune protein. So if you want to have your immune system stronger, you consume vitamin D, and if you consume vitamin D, you will have this immune protein in. So it's not direct relationship, but it is an indirect relationship. So what happens then if you have enough quantity of vitamin D, the multiplication of virus particle will be monitored. So cytokinins are the hormones or the chemicals that uses to communicate from one cells to another cells, and some kind of cytokinin promotes the inflammations. So basically in coronavirus, what happens when you get affected with the coronavirus, you have the bronchi, like it's basically a acute respiratory distress, like you don't feel like there is a problem of breath, and that is why you need ventilator. So you are not able to take the oxygen in and out. So now the question will arise, why there is this problem? So basically in our body you have those this bronchial tract. Okay, in the bronchial tract there are alveoli. So these alveoli, because of the deficiency in the vitamin D and the virus, these gets inflated, these gets swollen. So and then once they get inflated, there is a huge inflammation, and because there is a inflammation, the water comes out from the cells nearby these alveoli, and when the fluid is present in these bronchial tract, the oxygen is not able to easily come out from the blood, and then it is not coming out easily from the nose, and that is why you are not able to take or you are not able to breathe very peacefully, and these alveoli are inflated. Fluid comes out from those inflated alveoli, and therefore COVID person is not able to get oxygen in the blood, and sometimes the person dies. So now what is the solution? So the first thing the doctors recommending is they are prescribing anti-inflammatory drugs. So you have anti-inflammatory drugs, but then avoid taking anti-inflammatory drugs. So you have an inflammation in the alveoli, the bronchial tract. So you consume the anti-inflammatory drugs or tablets and you feel relief. But then, see, that's not only coronavirus, but then you may get exposed to other viruses also, and you have to build your immune system. Who knows that you might get exposed to the coronavirus also, but then if you already have a very strong system, enough vitamin D, which will enhance the production of these important, immune protein, and that's how then the moment you have inflammation or infection, immediately, it will cure. So it will act as an anti-inflammatory. So these anti-inflammatory drugs reduces the concentration of pro-inflammatory cytokinin, or indirectly or directly they increase the anti-inflammatory cytokinin, and that is why the fatality rate of COVID-19 increases with the age. And also chronic diseases condition. Why the people with the special, diseases like heart disease, cancer disease, or age-old people, they have been asked to stay inside the home because they have less vitamin D to fight against, and that is why they have less immune protein, and that is why, the cancer patient, the immunity is so poor. So the moment they come into contact with the virus, they are going to get affected, and that is why the fatality rate, once these special people are affected, it's very difficult to recover. And in both of these cases, like age-old people or chronic disease condition, the vitamin D is lower, and therefore this research paper recommended, and there are international organizations recommending that 10,000 international unit per day for few weeks, and then you reduce it to 5,000 international unit per day. Consumption of vitamin D tablets is recommended for those who are affected. And so vitamin E is also another important vitamin which acts as an antioxidant, and the recommended daily allowance is around 15 milligram per day. Vitamin E is present in wheat germ, asparagus, peanuts, and it is available in the form of tocopherols, and these are beautiful pictures. You can consume sunflower seeds, peanut butter. India is one of the largest country producing peanut, and 2-3 of my students have worked extensively and published on peanut. Is a very, very wonder nut and very cheaply available in India. Which source of vitamin E? Go for it. Wheat germ oil, of course, it's very expensive and may not be very easily accessible, but consuming whole wheat or whole wheat germ, you are a scientist, technology, you can have your own wheat germ, or you can have whole wheat product over the processed food. And almond, wonder nut is almond, and hazelnut is a resource of vitamin E. So look at this peanut butter. Consumption of peanut butter even in a less quantity might be very, very helpful. Almonds, sunflower seeds, meets 30% of recommended daily allowances, just consumption of half ounce of these ingredients. So there are other vitamins also which will help you to modify your immunity system, because I think there is a lack of time. But B6 is another very interesting vitamin that I came across, and it also says that vitamin B6 supplementation increases immune response in critically ill patients. This was published in Nature. Nature is a very, very good journal. So a large dose of vitamin B6 supplementation, almost 50 to 100 milligram per day, could compensate for the lack of responsiveness of plasma PLP to vitamin B6 intake, and it directly helps in improving the immune system in the critically ill patients. So these are the studies people have already done there. After that, I also came across some of the minerals. They suggest to go for minerals also helps in building the immunity. So it's not only one ingredient, but mostly I came across the very strong evidences about vitamin D and vitamin C. But apart from that, to keep our body healthy, you can always go for omega-3, omega-9 foods, and there are multiple number of papers. My PhD research students, some of them have extensively published on omega-3, omega-9, and I recommend flax seeds. Again, India is largest producer of flax seeds. You call it as a what do you call it in Hindi, but I really recommend these flaxes are really good source of omega-3 and omega-9 source. And in India we are like we are vegetarian, so we do not consume fishes. But then consumption of walnuts and chia seeds and flax seeds are, chia seeds of course are very expensive, not affordable. I always insist, being a scientist, I always look at the ingredients which are cost effective. I do not just like that would like to recommend. I always look for the ingredient whenever I'm developing any new product. What are the cheaper ingredients that can be purchased by the common populations? Then probiotic, prebiotics, they are multifunctional, and especially probiotics helps in enhancing the immune response. There are multiple number of papers. This recommends that you consume prebiotics, and I think Indian system with having a very good food system is very good. You consume during summer season, or especially even in other season, you consume like curd, and in that we put lot of vegetable like onion. So onion is a very high source of fructooligosaccharides, and FOS or FOS or fructooligosaccharides is a purest form of prebiotic. So why our tradition says that consume that raita or consume that koshambir? And in Maharashtra, it's a very usual practice. Even every day we consume, no matter if it is a lunch or dinner. So we consume that koshambir, in which you have a curd. Curd is a lactobacilli or lactic acid bacteria, which are probiotic. And I'm not going deep into probiotic, prebiotic. I'm considering that you have a background of already these pro and pre. But of course, in case you would like to know more about it, I have conducted lecture on pro and prebiotic exclusively. If some of you are interested, you can contact Professor Shalini. I can definitely sharing knowledge is very good, so I can share this information on probiotics and prebiotics. So prebiotics, like I am again insisting on the traditional methodologies like this onion, garlic are rich in fructooligosaccharides or oligosaccharides. They are rich in prebiotics. So when you have prebiotic, means it is the food for the probiotics, that is the lactobacilli. So what you are doing, enhancing the number of bacteria by giving them food. So the number is increasing, and then it's really very good. It's scientifically. Then we are very good blessed with abundance of spices, and Ayush, that is Indian Health Ayush Ministry, have recommended consumption of some of these spices, especially they have recommended that this golden milk, which is milk plus addition of this curcumin. Curcumin is an ingredient that is present in your haldi. So this curcumin is a wonder ingredient, or it is a secret ingredient which will help in building the immunity. And there are multiple number of functions. But then when you look here, I was going through multiple number of research papers. This curcumin has a very poor bioavailability. Whatever you consume, it comes out as it is, and especially if you consume it in the water form, it won't get absorbed very easily. So I recommend that curcumin is a fat soluble ingredient. So if you fry haldi आप डाल रहे हो दाल में या किसी में भी, why it is recommended to consume along with the fat that is milk. So generally in India we have a practice of consuming whole milk, और उसमें एक चम्मच भर आप हल्दी डालो तो whole milk में fat होता है. So this curcumin will get dissolved into the fat, and only in presence of fat in our body it gets absorbed. But आजकल इतना fat है हम लोगों को कि हम लोग वो double toned, single toned, जिसमें fat रहता है hardly less than 1% or sometime even less than 0.5%. तो fat नहीं रहेगा तो ये curcumin absorption बहुत ही difficult है. आप रिसर्च करके देख लो, और आप रिसर्च पेपर you can even search for some of the research paper. You will really find that the methodology that we adopt sometimes is not good, and then we think that we are consuming really good food, but then its bioavailability is very important. Then we have ingredients like garlic. We put garlic in almost every food. हम लोगों को garlic तड़का चाहिए. Of course there is some special community who avoid consumption of garlic, onion, but mostly, you know, maximum people, this garlic is a wonder ingredient. It has some special ingredient, and coconut oil also considered as, you know, anti microbial clove. So all of these spices are wonder ingredient, secret ingredient, and I cannot go deep into each ingredient, but if some of you are interested, I can share you the information in much detail, because we are running out of time. I'm sure it is already 7 o'clock or past 6:30, and I'm really thankful to the organizer who are allowing me to speak a lot. But I came across this very interesting research paper in which, you know, this curcumin is antiviral. See, viruses, there are multiple number of viruses we come across. If you want to fight, it is antibacterial, it is antiviral, it is antifungal. So consume it, but then in which form, you know, which form. So you should look for that. So I recommend that prevention is always better than cure. We are all lucky that we are not exposed to COVID-19, and we are not affected until now. Protect yourself. This is a new normal. Follow all the norms. No medicine for COVID-19 as of now. There are, you know, international level, there are so many scientific bodies struggling to identify the new vaccine, and people say that for another 1 more year it's not possible. Every government, including India's government, pouring a lot of money to you know, work onto it. But then it's better work on boosting our immunity rather than whenever this will happen. I really don't know. So stay healthy and stay safe, and feel free to contact me. I have my Twitter page, Facebook page, you may follow. And since I am associated with many international organizations, including International Scientific Councils, Global Young Academy, SDGs, social SDGs, and other organizations which are, you know, working very closely with global health and global food problems, or not only just food problems but other relevant problems, you can definitely reach me. And not only these, I also motivate students to go for higher education, encourage them no matter what hurdles, challenges they go through in their life. So if any one of you need special counseling, I would be very happy to help any one of you. So once again, thank you, organizer, for giving me a wonderful opportunity to talk to the students. You know, I would like to tell you, students are my catalyst. If I see students, I get energized. I feel like I have charged myself, you know, and because of this COVID-19, that is what is missing. And delivering such kind of lectures is giving me really, it's boosting my energy. So thank you so much, Professor Shalini, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini, doing such a wonderful, fantabulous job with your presentation. And you have touched so many aspects during the entire talk, which has been really appreciated. And we have had lots of questions. So I think we'll start with few questions. And before we start,